Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm very honored to share this stage with you, and I'm cognizant of time, so I will be brief.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
So, the Secretary General noted in his annual report that the work of the organization, that peace and security are threatened by the evolving nature of conflict, shrinking civic space, mis- and disinformation, hate speech, unregulated cyberspace, the climate emergency, and the rollback of women's rights. The political will has been lacking. Clearly, journalism plays a pivotal role in conflict resolution, safeguarding human rights, and fostering sustainable development. Sadly, journalism is a risky and far too deadly endeavor. Media is consistently attacked and undermined in many contexts. Numerous studies have noted that across the world, female journalists and media professionals encounter escalating online and offline assaults. Gender-based acts of violence encompass stigmatization, misogynistic hate speech, cyberbullying, physical aggression, sexual assault, and tragically, even murder. Strengthening media institutions and media freedoms are essential for the promotion of democracy, to enable the free flow of information, and to protect the interests of society. The United Nations has among its primary objectives one of preventing conflict and promoting international cooperation, and since its founding, it has evolved to take on a wide range of global issues, including the vital role of media. The UN also recognizes the critical role that media plays in conflict resolution, conflict prevention, and peace building. The news media dictates what conflict and conflict aspects get covered, how much airtime or front page news coverage a conflict receives, who speaks about the conflict in media. Do we use the main or auxiliary players in the conflict, aid agencies, terrorists, or the civilians who are impacted? The media can frame a matter in a way that makes it more intractable. Media can act as a weapon of violence, spreading hate and false information. It can also assign and employ stereotypes and give people labels that are dehumanizing. News media, of course, can also provide accurate information in conflict zones, which is critical to help civilians stay safe and to access other necessities. It can also reduce conflict and help aid with resolution by providing accurate information in a timely manner. Also shedding light on the root causes of conflict and provide a path for meaningful dialogue. It can also hold parties to account, expose abuses of power, violations of human rights, crimes of war, and act as a watchdog. The SG, the Secretary General, noted in his annual report, again on the organization, that the UN has created mechanisms in an effort to bolster media development in places of conflict and countries. I won't get into all of those, but they are in his report. The report also highlights the work being done to fight back against the mis- and disinformation, as well as hate speech, and efforts, of course, including monitoring and training. Now, the partnerships play an important role as well, and this includes media, social media companies, and civil society organizations. Now, obviously, the media variables are very complex. News media environments are varied. For example, there are government or quasi-government media monopolies, large media conglomerates. The news values obviously differ at different outlets, as well as to the extent to which governments control the communication through mechanisms such as strict penal codes, legal frameworks that restrict or enable freedoms of press. There's also communication infrastructure that may be limited or advanced and may suffer from war-related or other damage. The interest and motivations of media outlets and journalists, of course, are wide-ranging, and communication methods also differ depending on the country and the region. And the communication technology continues to change the media landscape, and it is challenging, as I'm sure you all know, to manage the volume of information that we're receiving. So, of course, the strategies are also well known. There is, of course, a lack of political will to achieve these, but they include, I think most importantly, protecting press freedom. This includes not only legal protections for the freedom of press, but constitutional guarantees, Journalists and media workers have the right to be protected from harassment and violence and censorship. There needs to be the political will to establish conditions where journalists can carry out their work without retribution. Alongside this, information laws. Political commitments are needed to strengthen the freedom of information to help ensure that government transparency and accountability, and for the process of journalists and citizens and affected persons to request and access things like public documents. These need to be simplified and efficient. Media regulations, obviously this is sort of two-pronged. Independent media regulatory bodies need to have clear mandates that can help ensure fairness as well as accountability in the media industry. And international organizations and other countries and bodies also should encourage and share best practices and resources. Media organizations also need to self-regulate, adhering to ethical codes of conduct. Also, diverse funding and independence. To the degree possible, funding should be diverse, and media outlets should try to reduce their dependence on single revenue streams, as this runs the risk of making them vulnerable to external pressures. Exploring as many funding models as possible, so a combination of philanthropy, subscriptions, memberships, providing grants and other fundings to investigative journalism projects is critical, especially ones that aim to uncover corruption and to hold powerful entities accountable. Media pluralism is also critical. We need to promote a diverse media landscape. To do this, we need to have independent and community-led efforts. Education and media literacy, I think we all know, is becoming increasingly essential. Programs including at schools, teaching members of the public, and engaging civil society. Combating disinformation and fake news. I'm sure your next panel will probably address that as well, along with holding the social media platforms accountable, and public engagement, which I think all of the panelists have noted, it needs to be fostered, and media outlets need to prioritize, among other things, public interest reporting. Strengthening media institutions must be a process that is ongoing, combining a number of things that I named, including the legal as well as regulatory framework. A trustworthy and vibrant media ecosystem is one in which there is both freedom of the press and responsible journalism. To close, as I promised I would be short, in summary, governments, international organizations, civil society must work together to create an environment where media can operate freely, responsibly. Media must be strengthened and protected, and for more specifics about what the UN is doing in specific conflict zones, those are noted in the SG's annual report, which I'm sure the organization can share with you. Thank you.